Hello, book lovers, and thanks for listening. I post new chapters every week. If you like my work, please remember to like and subscribe to help me build my channel. The Stillwater Girls by Minka Kent. Narrated by Jennifer Schafer. Chapter 15. Wren. "Eat up, girls," the stranger says, peeling a strip of goat's meat from a rib. "Waste not, want not." Mama always says that. The overpowering scent of the charred meat on my plate fills my nostrils. I've yet to take a bite, but I already know all the spices in the cupboard aren't going to make us forget what we're about to eat is one of our favorite goats. Sage threw up when we were preparing the food earlier. She looked outside at the blood and pelt lying in the brown grass where he'd shot one of them earlier today, and it got to her. She loved those goats the way we all loved the little collie dog we once had before he ran away. I begged the man not to kill the goats this morning, but he grabbed our shotgun and marched outside, slamming the door behind him. The sound of the blast rang through the cabin, clattering the windows, and my sister and I held each other until he came back in a blood-spattered jacket to dig a hunting knife from his bag. "I'll be damned if I eat eggs and potatoes for every damn meal," he'd said with a huff. Picking at the meat on my plate, I tear off a chunk. The warm, heady scent fills my nostrils, and I slide the piece into my mouth. The taste is stronger than chicken, and the texture is firm, chewy almost. Elbowing Sage, I whisper, "Eat." If the poor goat is already dead, we might as well eat it. It'd be a shame if it died for the sole purpose of feeding the stranger. I'm still not sure what he's doing here. All I've gathered at this point is that he knows who Mama is, but he won't tell us how or why he's looking for her. "You two always lived here?" he asks, picking a piece of meat from between his teeth and making a sucking noise. "Yes," I say, though I neglect to tell him that I've had these memories fill my head sometimes. Memories of living in a house with flowered paper on the walls and fuzzy soft floors that tickled my feet when I ran across them. Mama said it was probably a false memory, maybe something I picked up from one of those books I always kept my nose in. I could never understand. If those memories were false, then why'd they feel so real? "So let me get this straight," he says, sitting up and pointing his fork at us. "You've lived here in this cabin your entire lives?" I nod. "You ever go to school?" he asks. "With other kids, to learn?" We look at each other before shaking our heads. Mama said schools weren't safe anymore, that there were parents who sent their kids off to school in the morning never to see them again. "We had lessons," I say. "Lessons?" he asks. "Reading, writing, addition and subtraction," I say. "Sometimes history or geography. History always made Mama sad, though, and I realized once that she was giving us a condensed version of events when I was paging through one of her books on social injustices and stumbled across an entry for a man by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. I read about his fight for peace and equality and how he was killed for it. I knew then that Mama left certain things out for a reason. She only wanted to protect us, to shield us from all the ways the world had gone mad." "Ever seen a TV?" he asks. The man shakes his head and huffs. "Of course not. You don't even have electricity." "What's a TV?" Sage asks. "Television," he says. "You can watch shows, movies." The words don't register with Sage, but I remember Mama once talking about having something like that when she was a kid. Said she'd come home after school and watch her favorite shows until her parents came home from work and changed it to the news. The news always depressed her because it was nothing but people talking about all the bad things going on in the world. She never understood why her parents wanted to watch it. The only thing Mama liked about TV was watching the weather forecast. She grew up in a place called La Jolla. It was in Southern California where it was always sunny and warm, and she could play outside every single day. Then her daddy took a job in New York State. She was never able to go back to La Jolla. Too expensive, she said, but she promised to take us there someday. There's a screen, he says, tracing the shape of a rectangle in the air with his fingertips. And there are people on it, acting out things. I don't know how to describe it. It's for entertainment, when you're bored. I return to the lukewarm meat on my plate, pushing it around with my fork and preparing myself to take another bite. You two are missing out, I'm telling you, he says, shoveling a forkful into his mouth. You're going to be in for a real treat once I get you out of this primitive hell. My fork falls, clinking against my tin plate. What do you mean, get us out? The man narrows his gaze. I'm leaving in a few days. You two are coming with me. We're not allowed to leave, Sage says before I get a chance to respond. The stranger shrugs. Says who? Your mama? Your mama who isn't here right now? Your mama who left you to die out here all by yourselves? I tighten my jaw as my fist coils around my fork to keep me from up and stabbing his hand with the dull tines. She didn't leave us here to die, I say. He lifts a brow, head cocked, and then he snickers. Yeah, well, it looks that way to me. Don't know any mothers who would leave her young daughters all alone in the woods without enough food to get through winter. I'd rather starve to death here than go anywhere with you, I say. If you want to kill us, just leave us here. I've done the math with our supplies. We'll likely be dead by the end of next month. The stranger lets out a bellow of a laugh that almost makes him look nice. Kill you? What makes you think I want to kill you? Then what do you want? I ask. His shoulders square with mine as he situates in his chair. It's complicated, but you'll know soon enough. Evie's sick, Sage says out of nowhere, though maybe she's just trying to change the subject to something she can understand. Mama took Evie to town to get help. She needed medicine. They'll come back once Evie's well. When she says it out loud like that, it makes me realize for the first time just how ridiculous it sounds to keep faith that they're still coming back. My last thread of hope vanishes in that moment. The stranger covers his smirk with the dirty palm of his hand, laughing at her naivete. Hate to break it to you, he says, reaching his fork across the table and stealing our uneaten meat. But she's not coming back. Sage turns to me, her dark eyes brimming, and I slip my hand into hers, threading our fingers together. He finishes his cooked goat and pushes his plate towards us. Been a long day, girls. Think I'm gonna catch a nap. Rising from the table, he heads to Mama's bed, wrapping his greasy hands around the spindles and shoving it in front of the door again. A second later, he plucks his hat off one of the bedposts and nestles himself beneath the covers, his face hidden. Without making too much noise, we clear the table and pump the sink with water to wash the dishes. Ram, Sage whispers, leaning towards me. Why do you think he's looking for Mama? Squinting at her, I lift my finger to my lips and silently hush her. That man is maybe 20 feet across the room from us, and he isn't yet snoring. We can't risk him hearing us talk about anything. On the chalkboard calendar in the corner, above the bookshelves where Mama would gather us on a braided rug for our lessons, I spot our slate boards and a tin can of white chalk. Tiptoeing across the room, I grab 2 slates and 2 chalks and begin to write my first message to Sage. The chalk squeaks as I drag it across the board, and I stop, my heart in my teeth. We both glance towards the man, but he doesn't so much as stir. Pressing softer this time, I write out, "We can't let him hear us talk." Sage nods, writing a message on her board. I'm scared. I know, I mouth, writing another message. I'm going to get us out of here. How? She writes, lifting my shoulders to my ears. I mouth, I don't know. And then I write another message. I'll figure it out tonight. Erasing that message, I write another. We're going to have to leave like Mama and Evie. Sage's dark eyes widen, and she chews the inside of her lower lip, a little indentation on the side of her neck pulsing. Writing one last message before we finish the dishes, I hold it up for her to see. I won't let anything happen to us. End of chapter 15.